Hi, friends and neighbors. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Joe Witt. I was born and raised here in Wayne. I'm a proud Blue Devil and Wildcat. After some time away, my wife Lindsay and I chose to come back because of the kind of life you can cultivate here and should be able to. So I wanted to share a follow-up from the most recent city council meeting where our request for a special permit to keep 3 backyard hens was denied in a 6-1 vote. We're disappointed, but we see it as an opportunity to continue meaningful discussion in our community. And I want to take a moment to respond thoughtfully to some of the concerns that were raised. Because in the end, it's not about the chickens alone, but about the kind of community we choose to build. One that trusts its citizens, values local food, and embraces thoughtful, sensible change. It's also important to clarify that this wasn't a request to change city code or open the door to large-scale flocks. This was a conditional trial run permit for just 3 hens, subject to review and revocation if any concerns or disputes arose. It was meant to be a cautious, good faith test of what responsible backyard hen keeping could look like in Wayne. For context, if I recall correctly, the last time a special permit for a chicken was considered was in 2019, 6 years ago, when a 12-year-old girl wanted to raise a chicken for 8 weeks for 4-H to show at the county fair. Members of the council were proud to have denied that request and in turn used it as rationale for denying our request. But saying no just because you've said no before isn't a strong reason. Good governance means weighing each request on its own merit and adapting when it makes sense for the people you serve. Clinging to the past decisions in the name of consistency confuses rigidity with fairness. A responsible council should be willing to revisit policy when new voices, new information, or changing circumstances emerge. Today, we face soaring food prices. National conversations are shaped by the cost of eggs, and a post-pandemic landscape where families are simply trying to reclaim the dignity of modest self-reliance. In a time when supply chains often fail to serve everyday people, local solutions like backyard hens deserve thoughtful reconsideration and recognition that the benefits may outweigh any costs, especially if you are to consider the fundamental right of citizens to be a co-producer of essential foods. Eggs are a complete protein, meaning they contain all 9 essential amino acids, making them one of the most efficient sources of high-quality protein, as well as other essential micronutrients. Backyard egg-laying hens can provide consistent access to protein even when store-bought options are unavailable or unaffordable. Transitioning now to specific issues that arose in the meeting, I'll begin by saying that good decisions depend on accurate information and fair framing. So I'd like to briefly respond to the main objections raised and explain why I still believe this request is reasonable. First, a council member worried that backyard hens would attract varmints. That's a reasonable point, but it's also a manageable issue. The council member cited an article from 2017 that detailed a rat infestation in Eugene, Oregon, linked to, and in no particular order, open compost piles, garden waste, and chickens. However, the article also explains that the temperate climate and rapid city expansion of Eugene, Oregon were also contributing factors to the situation, making the comparison to Wayne, Nebraska, a stretch. Plus, a 2022 article updating the situation in Eugene reports that the rat issue has since improved. How? Contained compost piles, firstly, and educating citizens on how to effectively prevent rodents, storing feed in rodent-proof containers, keeping the coop and surrounding area tidy, using hardware cloth to seal potential entry points. And a similar concern was raised about natural predators to chickens, including potential run-ins with dogs who would happily make them their lunch. The same responsible ownership principles apply. A well-designed coop with enclosed feed, strong fencing, and responsible upkeep keeps both the birds and the neighborhood safe. This is why so many other cities, big and small, including Norfolk, Columbus, Lincoln, Omaha, Grand Island, allow backyard flocks with little issue. Second, another concern was about the negative impact to property values. Now, I'd be concerned too if there were evidence that 3 quiet hens in a fenced-in aesthetic coop would hurt my neighborhood's worth. But the research just doesn't back that up. There's no pattern of declining home values in cities that allow backyard chickens. It is a myth. In fact, many cities that allow hens have seen property values rise alongside the increased interest in local living and DIY-minded buyers. What matters most is upkeep, cleanliness, and being a good neighbor. That's all the stuff that a permit process can help ensure. Third, a council member mentioned speaking with one of my neighbors, who they claimed wasn't as supportive of our permit as we suggested. I've since spoken directly with that neighbor, and their support for us has been unwavering and genuine. Whatever was communicated, the council member misrepresented their views at the meeting as a way of casting doubt on our support. I understand how misunderstandings happen, but when public decisions hinge on personal testimony, accuracy matters. I stand by the integrity of our community support we've received. I've been in conversation with at least 10 of my neighboring households, and all are and remain enthusiastically in support of us. Lastly, a council member took fair issue with the fact that we had chicks before we had a permit. And yes, that's true. We saw the heart-melting chicks in the brooder at the local supply store, and we got overly hopeful and excited. And in hindsight, it would have been wiser to wait. But instead of hiding it, we were open about it, promptly conversed with neighbors, garnered support, pulled together the application for a special permit, got on the agenda, and pursued the pathway to legitimacy. We brought it to the city in good faith, hoping to do right by going through the official process. And what we saw as honesty and transparency was, unfortunately, used to question our character. Our hope was never to break the rules. We wanted to address them thoughtfully, with community backing and clear guidelines. In our conversations with neighbors, it's been clear that the council relied on misguided information, misrepresented the level of community support we have, and in one unfortunate instance, used ad hominem to justify their decision. To be clear, I mean no disrespect to the council. Much the opposite. Being a community decision maker is not easy business, and I trust that they are doing their best. But as a community, we should pay attention to what unfolded on Tuesday night. I've intentionally not named names because this isn't about stirring conflict or creating any sort of interpersonal strife. Please trust. I'm simply offering a citizen's account to fellow citizens, and I hope you'll hear me with an open mind. I'm here to invite conversation, reflection, and maybe, eventually, change. If you could please respond to the poll that's in this post of your stance on backyard hens, it'd be of great help in getting just an initial pulse of public opinion. Thanks for listening, and thank you for caring about Wayne.